first season of the Traitors Ireland came to a conclusion, and to say I'm shocked is an understatement. I'm shocked by the outcome only because I had been predicting something else. I'm also shocked by a production decision that helped lead to that outcome. What happened at breakfast ended up becoming a pivotal aspect of how things played out. Kelly and Owen were the first to breakfast, which meant we were treated to a pair of faithfuls that might have ended up figuring it all out. One thing that was clear was that they both thought at least one of the men were a traitor. One thinking it might be Ben while the other thought it might be Nick. It wasn't until Kelly made a comment that it could be both of them when it clicked for them. This was the moment that for the first time since Nick was blackmailed, I thought the faithfuls might win. We're all well aware of Owen's perceptiveness when it comes to spotting the original traitors, but her instincts have been letting her down lately. Kelly has been quietly moving through the game with some hits and misses. Now things have worked out that Kelly finds herself as the swing vote between Ben and Nick versus Owen and Vanessa. What a pivotal yet awkward predicament to be in, but it could have been different if Ben and Nick had made different and, can I say, better choices. Ben and Nick finally wanted to break up the duo that is Owen and Vanessa. They really should have done that earlier. They had the chance to do so at the previous banishment, and even their last opportunity to murder should have been Owen instead of Wilkin. Faye was supposed to be an ally of Ben and Nick, someone who could have helped them in the final. Now Ben and Nick have to get Kelly on side for her vote, but it might not be as simple as that.
And then he just kind of realised, okay, I'm gone, so I'll throw out the person I'm angry at and its name, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or the person he recruited's name.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that was one way to catch Nick out. What was clear beforehand was the traitors were going for Vanessa, while Owen and Vanessa were going for Nick. The question was, which way was Kelly going to go? At the round table, Owen got things started. Unlike the previous two round tables where they mostly sat back, Ben and Nick came out like a tag team. Nick might not have thought it, but he looked a little rattled during the round table. It reminded me a little bit of how he was when Pordy went after him, though I think Nick handled it better with Pordy. The deciding vote did come down to Kelly and she voted for Nick. I thought Siobhan was going to tell Nick to leave without revealing his role, but he was given the opportunity to do so. This is where I was surprised by the choice to have the reveal at the last banishment before the Fire of Truth. While the consensus was there were two traitors left, Nick revealing he was one of them killed any possible paranoia and suspense of not knowing if they were correct. While Kelly and Owen were excited by their catch, Ben and surprisingly Vanessa looked like someone had just killed their pet. Nick left the clue that could possibly help Ben and wreck Vanessa's chances of winning.
Pordy was half right. I'm a traitor.
Yeah! As they had previously jumped on the Pordy was protecting Vanessa story and Nick's little clue, Kelly could have easily voted for Vanessa at the Fire of Truth. Instead, after all of them had voted to banish instead of enter the game, Ben was voted off. Ben was also allowed to reveal he was a traitor. In both cases, Ireland took the old route instead of letting it remain a mystery until the game had ended. I hope this element isn't used if it returns, as it's better for them to still have the doubt and wonder if they've trusted the correct people. Essentially, I think it makes better TV. Well, let's get this out of the way. I was wrong about thinking Ben or Nick would turn on each other. Their friendship was a lot stronger than I thought. Maybe I've been too jaded from seeing so many traitors throw each other under the bus. I mean, look at all the traitors in this season before Ben and Nick. I was wrong that Vanessa would end up being banished. I kept thinking that for multiple episodes, and even though they tried, it never happened. Kelly was one of those that voted for Vanessa in episode 9, and she trusted her enough to end the game instead of banishing. Would that have changed if there were no reveals before then? I had so many reservations about the Faithfuls winning once Nick was blackmailed. I think Ben and Nick made a couple of mistakes that cost them the game. Voting to banish Faye when she was the most likely amongst the Faithfuls to vote with Ben and Nick. Not getting rid of Owen. Her track record speaks for itself. It also meant that Owen and Vanessa were essentially a voting bloc. Despite thinking for a while that the Faithfuls weren't going to win, Kelly, Owen and Vanessa walked away with sharing the prize money of €42,900. Congratulations to all 3 of them. I'm especially happy that Oyen won, as she was one of my favourites. A lot of times my favourites either don't get to the final or they don't win. I wasn't sure if they were all going to end the game and thought maybe one of them would want to banish, but no one did. The Traitors Ireland first season was a good introductory into the franchise. It wouldn't be on my must-watch and recommended list for the franchise, but it's nowhere at the bottom either. I would say it's about average. I would be very surprised if it wasn't renewed, as it sounded like it did well in Ireland. Anyway, I shall see you in the next video. Until next time.